I talk about this in my book, Zero Limits.
Mm-hmm.
When you understand that you really have zero limits, and I didn't even discover the name of that book until I got to chapter Z. It was going to be called Rise and Soar, Empower and blah, blah, blah. But I said, when I got to the point, there should be nothing to hold you back. I think one of the questions before we came in here, and we were talking about it on the way here, is who inspires you, who, instilled this in your life? And I think it was my parents, and my dad was, I had two older brothers where there's nothing you cannot do. Laney was my name. Mm-hmm. And it's like, Lane, you can do anything you want to do. He taught me so much in the life that I had with him, there's nothing that I can't figure out how to do. Mm-hmm. There's certain things I don't like to do, but there's definitely things that I'm not going to try to do and try to master it. And when I do something, I'm 110% in all the way.
Welcome to YMI Talking, a podcast where the guests are so good, you'll wonder why the host is even talking. In each episode, you will hear one of the leaders of the Lehigh Valley's vibrant business hub. They will tell you the keys to their success, the mistakes they've made, and what they have in store for the future. Here is the host of YMI Talking, from YMI Insurance, Jimmy Honachik.
All right, so we are going to start this episode. This one is with Elaine and Zeke Zelker. Whoop, whoop. This is the second one where you are now a voice member, but you are not in this one.
I'm not. No. What a shame for our viewers.
It's really tough for them. Yes, you only work Wednesdays and Fridays, and this was shot on a Tuesday.
How rude.
I know. But it is a great episode. Elaine is incredible. She empowers everyone around her. And Zeke is like the man, truly.
The man?
The man.
I love that.
It was really cool to talk to them. You missed a great one.
I always do. I feel like whenever I'm not here, it's always just ones that I'm like, man, I wish I were there.
Yeah. Maybe it's you.
It probably is. Can't argue with that
one. No. So we will jump into that, and you are around for the next one.
I am.
So for your fans, they should tune in.
Tune in, guys.
All right, let's dive into this one. So, I'm Jimmy Honachik, and I am back with what's going to be, without a doubt, one of the best episodes we've had so far. I've got not one, but two people on, and they're both rock stars. If you are in the area, you've heard of them, you've heard of their businesses, and you probably know them at some level. So I'm not going to even try to do an introduction that will do them justice. I'm here with Zeke Zelker and Elaine Zelker, Zeke from Zcraft, Elaine from her headshots, and let's dive into this. Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So where do we start? There's so much that you guys do. Yes, you have your businesses, you're involved in the community. I'm going to turn it to you. Where should we start this one?
How we met?
Yeah, let's go there.
That wasn't a joke.
This podcast has been PG, but we can take it to the next level.
Totally. So we actually, I was a filmmaker for 25 years.
Yeah.
I moved back to the Valley to make a difference by making movies. And on one of my films, In Search of, Elaine actually auditioned for me. I kind of became smitten right away. And her headshot, although completely different lives, her headshot lived on my wall for about 2 years, I think.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so it was just like one of those things. So we actually met through the audition process. She did not get the role, but like a couple of years later, we ended up, dating and things, and now we are here today.
That's crazy. So, did you have an acting background? Did you do acting?
No. I think everybody always wanted to try it, and
right.
I was literally in the process of losing my parents. Like my mom was very sick, and my daughters and I took that class at Image International, like the acting, modeling type stuff with the girls, just to give them some, just fun stuff to do. And I had no clue who Zeke was. Like I saw some guys doing auditions in the area and I'm like, I'm just going to go for it. My mom was literally on hospice at the time. I was like, I'm going to go for it. Who cares? I'm just going to try something.
Yeah.
So I went in and auditioned, and first time it's like a blur. I barely remember it. And then the
first time she was awesome. Second time, not so much.
Yeah, he will never live it down for not giving me that part.
Of course not. No.
Kidding? No.
So the headshot that you saw of hers, who shot that? Was it you or
no? Through Image, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. That was so long ago.
So the acting career didn't catch or didn't take off there, but did you catch sort of the photography bug at that point? How did that happen?
So I think after the loss of both my parents, then I got divorced, then I met Zeke, and then he and I started, and knowing that he was this eclectic entrepreneur filmmaker doing what he loves to do, I felt like I was limited on what I could do. So I have a bachelor's in psych and business. I'm an RN by trade. So I was doing nursing. It's not like I didn't love it,
right?
But I took one class at Rutgers in photography, and I loved it. And back then in the 80s and 90s, women couldn't be artists. So I put it on the back table, became a nurse, like very old fashioned Italian family, like you nurse or secretary, do something, honestly, I grew up that way. My parents were 20 years apart. So I had a very much older father growing up. And then I met Zeke, and he saw that I had some talent behind the camera.
Yeah.
And I went for it. I mean, he was like my biggest cheerleader, and I think got me my first camera,
camera, lighting, all that stuff.
And we started, and then it took many years for me to perfect what I wanted to do in my niche of headshot photography.
It was funny though, is because Elaine really doesn't use flash much, and when first started out, I didn't really know. Like I know photography and film and stuff like that and stuff. The only way I knew how to light was constant light.
Yeah.
And so that's literally how like Elaine really started, with always using constant light for her lighting and things. And now today, like she's, international renowned for it.
Yeah.
So,
And there's a real art to it. Like you can look at your headshots and they're stunning. And then you can look at someone else's headshots and like, those are not Elaine's. Like I really have come to appreciate it. Like, how do you master that craft? How have you?
It takes a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I can probably nail it in 30 seconds. Like I know exactly where the pose needs to be.
Yeah.
It's about capturing somebody's essence within minutes, and it's how they feel in front of the camera. They don't just walk in my studio and we go right into the lights. I sit with people.
Yeah.
I watch them laugh.
What's funny is like people, like she'll shoot somebody for a minute, and they'll walk and see the shot, and they're like, "Holy shit, that's the best photo I've ever gotten!" And like, how did you do that in a minute?
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like, it's again like perfecting the craft.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is there's still life, right? Where you're capturing a moment, but what you're doing is you're capturing an essence, essentially.
Yeah, correct.
That's pretty interesting.
And it comes from, we'll talk about this later, when I discovered what my personal mission was, right?
Yeah.
To empower other people.
Yeah.
To use their gifts and talents to rise. And so like, how can I help you? And how can I make you feel something here? And I can capture that within minutes of someone. And the best part is when I do sit with them ahead of time, I chat with them, I laugh with them, so I see them smile.
Yeah.
And I see that they can do, because they get in front of the camera and they freak out.
A real smile.
Yeah. And I can see, but I already know, I've seen you laugh.
Right.
I see that light in you, and I'll bring that back out again. So
that's beautiful. Yeah, that's really cool.
It's the interrogation, really.
Yeah. See?
Yes.
Smiling.
Did you judge my lighting as soon as you walked in here?
No, I noticed it right away.
Okay,
I like it, though.
good. I'm trying my best, okay?
He's got a little kick coming in.
Why is everything white light though, and not
I love
tungsten?
it.
Yeah.
I like it better.
She and I differ on that. I like warm light. She likes cold light. So
opposites attract, though. I mean, would you guys say you are opposites in a lot of ways?
No.
Really?
Not at all. We're very,
We
very
butt heads.
similar. Yeah. And the other thing too is like we know when to acquiesce to the other though too. It depends on who's driving the vision on certain things, and we know which role we need to play, whether it's be supportive or whether it be the leader kind of thing.
Yeah, let's dive into that. You are both such personalities, right? Like you are both strong, driven people. How does that work together? Are you guys able to be supportive? Like
Now,
yeah.
Early on it was hard because like when, I'm on a film set, right? I've got 250 people and stuff, and she'll come up to me and ask me to say something, and I'm like, what? I had to shut it down right away.
Yeah.
And then she'd get upset and things just because like things are already planned and there's just so many other things in motion and stuff.
But remember, I'm a Sicilian, so nobody puts me in the corner.
That's true. That's very true. But so it's a matter of it's also too is like I would assist her on her photo shoots, and I would just be literally the grip or the grunt, just getting things together and let her have her moment.
Yeah.
Just because like it's a matter of, again, it's not about my ego, it's a matter of Elaine doing the best that she can do, and so that's the big thing and that's something that we finally realized, like, as we, matured as a couple and stuff, is like, when you take the lead and when not.
Yeah.
Like for instance, I can bake and I can, I was a pastry chef at one point, but I'll never bake because she can. Like I've never cooked Italian for my wife. Even though I can, but I won't. There's certain respect you have.
Yeah.
So but then I can break down, side of beef and things like that, which she has no desire to do. So it's just a matter of like not necessarily clearly defining the rules. It's a matter of knowing when to step in and step out. And for instance, like she's actually stepped in explaining something better than I can because I get so far deep into my head that it's hard sometimes for me to articulate something. And then with I think with Elaine, it's a matter of like, I might see something differently that she didn't think about. And I'll never say it in front of anybody. Like it'll always be like a whisper or kind of like a note or something like that. So, cause the big thing too, is what we realized is that the people that we're working with have to know who's in control.
Yeah.
You can't have two people bantering off of each other and then try to have some sort of direction. So that's what's really important, I think too.
Yeah. How do you guys make it work? I mean, there's so much that you do, right? Between, volunteering and community service, between the businesses, between each other, between kids, between your careers. Like how do you guys find the time?
We just do it. We don't think about it.
Yeah.
Like literally people ask like, how do you work so much? How do you do so much? It's a matter of, and the same thing with Elaine, but it's a matter of like, one is we don't really dilly-dally around much, but we do relax.
Yeah.
There are things that we'd like to do, the things that we want to do, but have yet to do. But it's just a matter of like, we're just doers. We don't talk about things. We're not fixing to do something. We just freaking go do it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What is relaxing? What do you guys do to relax?
Sit on the porch, play cards, take a walk.
Yeah.
I mean, I read a lot. I definitely have more downtime. I think also Zeke, I'm not going to say released me, but I was very involved with Zcraft and I built my brand over the last 10, 15 years here. And I felt like I was losing that. So I think not that he allowed me, but understood that I needed to be in a different lane.
Yeah.
I could still, come over to his lane for a little bit for Zcraft and help him do the social media, the marketing and empower the staff and things like that. But I was losing my identity.
Yeah.
And I felt like it took me so long to build it. And we work better when we're staying in our own lanes and then we collaborate when we need to.
But the ability to recognize that for you guys to see, what's best for each other is a true testament to you guys. That's incredible.
And knowing that where we succeed. And I think we are each other's biggest cheerleader and we know when to lift the other person up because it's a lot. I mean, people don't really understand what goes on behind the scenes in businesses like this, how hard the food industry is, how very hard it is and how this man works 90 hours plus a week.
Right. That's the other thing too, is a matter of like, everybody says we're the biggest cheerleader and biggest critic. We don't criticize each other much. That's the thing too, is a matter of like, we take a different perspective to something that we both respect each other. That's a big thing too, is respect each other.
Yeah.
And so like, we don't necessarily ever, bash the other person or be critical of them. It's a matter of like, okay, let's figure out how we can make this better. It's always trying to be better. And also too, is I write to relax.
Okay.
And that's the big thing too, is like, I will like just go off and write for hours. And like,
and
also
we're both just because we're so, he loves his cigars, but we're so creative. Like when we go on vacation, I literally wrote a book and I came back and published it. That was our vacation. After 3 days, we're like, okay,
what do we have to do?
Finish the
3 days is literally our limit.
Like 3 to 4 days of relaxation. I'm not being productive.
Right.
And I don't know if I feel like, because I lost my mom. She was 62 years old. I'm 52. And I'm like, am I running out of time?
Right.
There's so much I want to do. And we were talking about, what do you do? I've all these little tattoos. And I'm like, I always wanted the little ampersand because I'm an and, I'm not an only. And I'm totally fine with that because why can't you just do all the things you love to do?
Yeah.
Well, people always like, it's funny now that people know Zcraft, they see me as Zcraft. And then like, oh my God, I didn't know you were that filmmaker.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting is because like, when we started Zcraft, I really pushed my filmmaker identity completely in the back. Like still get calls and stuff like that.
Is that hard from an ego perspective? Like you built your whole life doing that.
It was, but I don't know. Like, I don't know if it ever really affected my ego because I just had another drive.
Yeah. Right.
And quite honestly, it came out of need.
Yeah.
Like we had to figure out during COVID because my film company just completely got destroyed by it and stuff. So we started Zcraft. Literally by doing our.
But that was a terrifying time to get into food service, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, our first event was literally 150. We had to deliver over 150 meals to 100 locations, 5 courses paired with 4 wines. That was our first gig. Wow.
And we know it's COVID.
Took it easy.
Because
Nice
everything had to be very individually packaged.
Yep.
Hence our salads in a jar, the desserts in a jar, all these things that were individually packaged.
Yeah.
That became our brand.
I was going to say, and it's beautiful. Like it's crazy how that happens, where you were forced to do something, but you truly made the best of it.
Took at least 3 months. I mean, for him, I'm honest. Like he struggled, and he was in the basement a lot. You know, doing day trading and stuff. Thank God for that.
My former life, which not many people know, is I used to work in finance.
Yeah.
So that helped us too during COVID. But day trading, and I think me supporting him, just instilling him, you've got to find what you're passionate about. Food and film.
Yeah.
Go back into food. What do you love to do? And honing in on that and making him realize that he's really good at it.
Yeah.
People need it. People still want it. People will always need food no matter what circumstances are going on in the world.
Yeah. So it's also too is like I'd always do the first meal of the of a film shoot, first meal of the day. I always generally would cook for everybody. You know, because it's always good. Like after the 12th hour, you need another hour. And like if you fed a grip, they'll probably most likely work for you still.
You're right.
So one of those things. Yeah.
So I mean, tell us what Zcraft is. Tell us the brand. What can someone expect when they go there if they haven't been there?
Zcraft is we try to create like elevated comfort. I'm trained French. And I shouldn't say trained. I learned French just by a lot of different chefs and stuff. But it's really a matter of trying to give an elevated experience to things. Like, for instance, we started with coffee and like I research coffee endlessly, and then like we do everything from scratch. A lot of people realize it. And if we don't do it from scratch, we're using local vendors.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, we have relationships with a lot of farmers and stuff locally. So it's a matter of not really always realize you're going to get, top quality, always with like, my little spins on stuff. We're developing what we're going to call like new Pennsylvania cuisine, where we're trying to adapt old like recipes from the area and from the state and using locally produced products and stuff along with that.
I love that. What, like, can you give me an example of what that could be?
Like, for instance, one of the things I was thinking about actually was like a cheesesteak tostada.
Yeah.
So like literally taking the Philly cheesesteak, but then making it like a tostada because of the influence of the Latin community within the valley.
That's amazing.
The state. And then the other thing would be like duck pastrami, where I literally break down ducks, we cure it, smoke it, and then I make a pastrami sandwich out of it.
Wow.
And just like little things like that. And it's funny because Elaine's like, how do you know how to do this stuff? I'm like,
Right.
I just you create these things, but then you have to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
So the big thing with Zcraft is we just try and bring things to another level. Like we do catering, we're at farmers markets, we do home meal delivery, and we also have the cafes.
Yeah.
So we have it's a myriad of business, but at the same time, it's a matter of like people that have a cafe know it's hard to make money at it. So like we basically, again, from my business background, we create different sources of revenue so that we're not in that position.
Yeah. And the food, I mean, the food's incredible. The coffee's incredible. What's next as you look out? So you said, the Pennsylvania concept. What else is there? What's next for Zcraft?
I really want to create a concept that I can open up multiple stores across the state.
Yeah.
We have a store that's going to be opening at the airport in October. Hopefully, it's been a year and 9 months now that it's been keep pushed back. But it's a matter of like the other thing too that makes Zcraft successful is a matter of we are customer service paramount.
Yeah.
Number one.
Yeah.
It's a matter of like, and also too, is like we've let employees go because they're not as, customer service oriented as we are. Again, customer service comes back to community.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of like, if you, give exemplary customer service, you're also providing the community common good.
Right.
And that's another reason why too, that we're very active in the different roles, within the community upon which, we fit in. Like I'm art and food. What are your two pillars of what you consider?
Empowerment, health conscious, leading, they're like our children. Like I instill in them, and it's like to the point where they leave and they go do successful things without us now. But just involved. I mean,
Yeah. So where did the community come from, right? Like you're from the area, but then you go off and you do film, which is, much more global scale. How do you decide, no, I want to get back to a local small community and focus on that community?
So my family started Dorney Park, which some people know, some people don't know. And growing up at the park, you kind of had the sense of nostalgia and things.
Mm-hmm.
I also too saw what it did to my own personal family. When I moved out of the area, went to university and traveled a bit and stuff, and then everybody started, for lack of a better term, shitting on Allentown with thanks to the Billy Joel song. I took a lot of pride in the area, and I kind of got extremely offended by that. So when I was in grad school, my professor's like, just go make movies. Why the hell keep going to grad school? So I accepted her challenge and moved back to the area to make a difference. Mm-hmm. So my thought was that I can promote the Lehigh Valley in film across the world by, having, local made products and things like that. So I've been always active in, product placement and things. And that was my goal was to literally show off the Lehigh Valley around the world through cinema. Yeah. And, I've had success, thank God. It's been not easy to come by, especially because I was so rooted here. Right. And the funny thing is, like, going to Sundance and stuff, like, everybody from New York, I was from LA. Everybody from LA, I was from New York. When I said I was from Allentown, they're like, hey, got all those criminals. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, that's where my studio is. And so there was always a conversation point. Yeah. So, but, like, I've always had a big, big sense of pride for the area. And as I learn more about my family, as I grow older, there's a lot of things in question, and things that bother me now about the family. Yeah. And, we're, about to celebrate Juneteenth, for instance. Right. And, my family, honestly, we're racist. Yeah. Yeah. And to realize that as an adult, and how do you make amends for that? Yeah. Like, for instance, they had Black Days at 20 Park where they closed down the pools and stuff because of the inner city youth coming in. And it's a matter of, you hear these stories, and as you become a storyteller and really community minded, you realize, like, what did that have? The effect that had on people. Yeah. And my great grandfather would have to tell the local businesses when Black Days were, and they'd shut down their businesses. Right. And that gravely actually still affects me. Yeah. And it just is like one of those things that you're just is like, well, I didn't know that. Yeah. And it just is, and it's sad because, like, you have such just reverence for, your past and nostalgia, right. And you have this, like, like this great thing, but then all of a sudden you start peeling back the layers, but, like, oof. Yeah. That's not a good one. My mom actually really broke that chain. Mm-hmm. My mom was a minister. She led, congregations and everything else across the valley. But she not one day. And she's the one that really inspired me to be an artist and things and to look at things differently and to accept everybody. Yeah. No matter, where they come from. Mm-hmm.
And would you say, the focus on the Lehigh Valley, is that one of the things where we do welcome so many people here in diverse backgrounds?
Oh, we haven't.
Correct.
Seriously, we
correct. Yeah.
So not many people realize that a lot of the Southern generals in the Civil War's daughters actually went to Moravian College.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So there's like there's a lot of honestly, there's a lot of racist history from the Valley. Yeah. And not that I want this to be based on that by any means, but it's just one of those things that I've been thinking about because of the timeliness of where we're at. Yeah. But now the area's become more welcoming, that we've had a lot more influence from the outside, from like Philadelphia and from New York City and from Jersey and stuff. It's actually become a lot more of a melting pot instead of this very, Germanic kind of Anglo-Saxon viewpoint of the world. Mm-hmm. And this, like, again, I grew up here. Yeah. So I know, like, I went to Emmaus High School. We had Sean Beach was the only African-American person in my entire school. Wow. And so that's one reason I was so glad about the girls going to Easton. It was a matter of, like, all kinds of different people, which is awesome. So the thing is that the Valley had a long time in coming to be able to be where it's at today, and still needs a lot more work.
And you're driven to do that. You've got your background, right? And you're wrestling with that. And the only thing you can do is take matters into your own hands at this point. And you guys are so involved in the area. Like, talk about, what you guys do from a volunteer's perspective, what you guys do to make this, the more welcoming, the better community that it could be.
Well, Elaine just kind of won the LLS Visionary of the Year, which she just spent so much time on. Yeah. And I'm extremely proud of her.
Yeah. Can we talk about that for a second? Sure. What is it? Why did you get it? And let's hear a little bit about it.
So August of last year, August 2023, one of my best friends, Christine, was diagnosed with lymphoma. And it brought back such turmoil in my life, like post-traumatic stress from losing my mom, and then my dad died, and then my best friend gets cancer, and a lot of unknowns, And I have a nursing history, so I kind of knew what was going on with her pretty early on. 2 weeks after that, I get a call or an email asking me if I wanted to be one of the Visionary of the Year candidates for LLS. And I'm like, oh, do you know about Christine? They're like, no.
Yeah.
And so they had no clue that I literally was living in a nightmare right now 2 weeks ago, dealing with somebody that's going to be going through treatments and everything like that. And I said, let me talk to her first, make sure it's okay with her, because her story becomes my story.
Yeah.
So she was all about it, because it's about, putting knowledge out there and for research and for community and patient education and advocacy. So I said, of course. I felt like I call it a God wink, where I felt like there was a reason that I'm being called to do this. And at the time I was nervous, and a lot of people are like, oh, it's going to be a lot of work for you. It's about raising money. But then something clicked right away. Having a nursing background, to ask people for money, I'm not asking it for me. Once I understood that, and that came across, it's for the better cause, for people, 90% of the money is going to stay here right in the Valley to help people like my best friend pay for things and have better treatments and stuff. So I was afraid. I was like, oh my God, maybe I'll do like 25,000 or something. And
that was her original goal, by the way.
Right.
And
which is a noble goal. Like, that's a great.
Yeah. But you can get a grant in somebody's name if you hit 50,000.
Okay.
So I'm a type of person. I'm like, I got little BHAGs going on, big, hairy, audacious goals, where I'm like, maybe we could hit 100,000. Maybe I can get a grant in Christine's name, and then maybe I can get a grant in honor of my parents that passed away.
Yeah.
And we did it. Our team did it. I was not just me. I had amazing powerhouses like Ashley and Tina and Christine and Lisa Dougherty and Val Lewis and Vicki Dulay. Like, there's a ton of powerhouse women. And Dan Corner from Gross McGinley, my guy on the team, helped grow this vision, and I could not have done it without them.
Yeah.
And we came in at over 104,000, and our team won, Visionary of the Year.
That's incredible.
So now I get to do the grants and stuff, and which also opened up a world for me that there's still so much work to be done. And I feel like it was another calling for me. I'm going to pivot and just do more in community with people.
Yeah.
Having that vision of good people doing good things for good causes.
Yeah.
And that's where I envision myself going.
Zeke asked you what your pillars were, and immediately the first thing you said was empowerment. And this story here is clearly an example of that. I mean, where does that come from? How do you empower people to do their best? Clearly, you're good at it. Like, just give me the secret, Elaine.
Yeah. Just be honest with yourself. Know that it's okay to make mistakes. Know that you're going to, I talk about this in my book, Zero Limits. When you understand that you really have zero limits, and I didn't even discover the name of that book until I got to chapter Z. It was going to be called Rise and Soar, Empower and blah, blah, blah. But I said, when I got to the point, there should be nothing to hold you back. I think one of the questions before we came in here, and we were talking about it on the way here, is who inspires you, who, instilled this in your life? And I think it was my parents, and my dad was, I had two older brothers where there's nothing you cannot do. Laney was my name. And it's like, Lane, you can do anything you want to do. He taught me so much in the life that I had with him, there's nothing that I can't figure out how to do. There's certain things I don't like to do, but there's definitely things that I'm not going to try to do and try to master it. And when I do something, I'm 110% in all the way.
Is there anything you haven't done, right? Like, you were a nurse, you wrote a book, you're doing the headshots. Like, what's next? Are you focused on the headshots? Is that the big thing? Like, what?
No, I think there's a bigger calling.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to empower more people. I want to speak more. I want to do more keynote speaking and things. I just did a couple for the YWCA for the Perfect Fit. And I take the book where that's like my launching off point. And I go through all the letters of the alphabet and I figure out what people need in the time, whether it's trying to find accountability partners, branding themselves, how to collaborate with the right people, taking your fear and your passion, and knowing when to lean into your passion more and leap. And not make fear overtake you, because I've been there.
Right.
I've been in the tub where I'm drinking a bottle of wine ready to go under because I did not know where my life was going. So those are the things that people don't know about us. Don't know our past and our history of where we struggled and where.
There's been a lot of struggle. A lot of struggle.
And together as a couple, we struggle. And not that it's all private. Some people know our private business and stuff, but we climb out. And we become better people and to better the people around us all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So wherever that is for me to help nonprofits or help people build themselves so they can learn, use their talents to rise and soar, because that's my mission.
Yeah.
Then I feel like I could check it off. Let me go on to the next person and help them now.
Yeah.
And where can I use my talents to get them to rise?
I'm ready to rise. That was incredible.
What do you need to do? You got to figure out though, where are your blocking points?
Okay.
You know, if you have fear to do, you've done it. I mean, like you've pivoted and you're doing things that you love to do. People might think that you're just in insurance, but unless you put it out there that you're much more than that, people aren't going to know.
Yeah.
People want to know, have that veil lifted and know the person behind the brand.
Elaine's a lot better at that than I am too. It's like I'm a little bit more private of all weird things.
Yeah.
Like I don't do well. Like I can speak in front of thousands of people
right
now. Put a camera on me, and I'm a bumbling idiot.
You got a camera on you.
I'm not paying attention if I'm looking at it.
You've done well, okay.
But it just is. And that's the thing is like that's where we're different. Is like she can put herself out there like that, where I'm a little bit more reserved with that sort of thing. I don't know why that is either.
I was going to say, where do you think that comes from? I'm the same as you, Elaine, where like I'm an open book. I'll tell you whatever you want to know. And then my wife is the complete opposite. She's very reserved. She likes to keep her private affairs private. And it works well for us until I start telling her affairs to other people. She goes, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. Oh,
I'm not reserved. I'm not reserved at all.
No. Talking to Mr. Streaker over here. You know, but I think we know limitations on what we want to talk about, and you know, we let people in all the way. There's definitely things that are not.
There's very few.
Yeah.
That are.
But I think it builds us for who we are today.
Yeah.
Like you've got to be some core behind, you know, what makes us tick. But I really think it's just playing off of each other and allowing each of us to be the creative artist that we are.
Yeah.
You know, Zeke doesn't even talk about, he's still writing. He's got the masterpiece that's still coming. I've read it.
Yeah. Is it fiction? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
It's probably the most autobiographical piece I've ever written.
Okay.
It's actually called Love Your After. It's about my version of a love story.
Yeah.
It takes place in Washington, D.C. with Noah Walker, who's a child advocate attorney who becomes enamored by a ballerina. And it's a matter of, unveiling your past to be able to love and actually accept love and find love and be in love.
Yeah.
It's been a roller coaster. I actually started it over 20 years ago.
Oh my God.
Started as a screenplay, and then my mom always wanted me to write a novel.
Yeah.
She thinks that's easier. And so I've been working on the novel for about 3 years now.
More.
Yeah. And so, and the funny thing is like it's ready to go. My problem is I can't write a synopsis for the life of me.
Right.
It sounds crazy, but like, how do you condense this work
Right.
into a couple of paragraphs? Oops,
Yeah.
sorry about that. And that's kind of like where I'm struggling right now. But yeah, I want to get it out there within the next year or so.
That's amazing. Have you written a book before?
No,
Oh,
I've written screenplays.
You write.
And I have a weird way of writing where I'll think about something for eons, and then finally I'll come into paper. I'll vomit it all out in a couple of days.
That's crazy.
And I think I could coerce you too, like take it from script to book.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and it's
hard.
And being
It is.
descriptive is different as a filmmaker than a writer. And
It's
I know
very different,
I love writing and
Yeah.
wrote books, but they're different. They're not those types of tales, but
Yeah.
more self-help type of stuff. But.
It's what's funny is somebody in the kitchen asked me, what was the first thing I ever wanted to do as like a professional?
Yeah.
And I looked at her and I said, actually, I wanted to dance ballet.
Yeah.
And her face went twisted 5 ways to Sunday. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah, because like my first experience was seeing Mikhail Baryshnikov after he immigrated from Russia to the United States. He was in New York City Ballet. I was back in the summertime with the Nolans. And I saw this guy that didn't look much bigger than me.
Yeah.
Leaping unbelievably and like picking up women and everything else. And I was just like, I was completely mesmerized.
Picking
and
up
I go
hard.
home. Thanks, man. How do I do that? So I came home and I told my dad. He's like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell you're ever going to dance ballet. That's for
No Son of Mine.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And so the thing is my first semester at school, guess what I did? Is I took a ballet class.
Yeah.
And loved it. So ballet actually has a very big part in Love Hereafter.
I love that.
And how it can be lyrical and what does movement mean and the different symbolisms and things like that too.
Yeah.
But it's just funny. Is like that was literally the first thing that I ever wanted to really do was actually,
Yeah.
and I was not allowed to do it.
Yeah.
So I think I've been, a rebel ever since.
I've seen him in tights.
Oh, that's great.
Well, why does he seem uncomfortable now?
No, I'm thinking like, let's get the ballet going. Let's make this happen.
Yeah.
All right, so we are over time. This has been incredible.
I'm sorry.
No, we have so much more we could dive into. A couple of things before we wrap up, though.
Sure.
So our sponsor is Hocus Pocus Cleaning Services. I don't know if you know them, but they're amazing. They come to your house. They can go to your business. They clean. They have their witching hour where they can reorganize your life for you.
Wow.
And they're magical. It's like a magic power that they have. So if you guys could have any magic power, what would it be? Putting you on the spot here.
Bring back the dead.
Oh, that's a good one.
Those that I've lost and loved. And the thing is, too, is like Elaine didn't get to meet parts of my family.
Right.
And I have not been able to meet parts of hers.
Yeah.
That shaped her for who she is. And that'd probably be mine.
Yeah.
That was pretty quick, wasn't it?
Yeah. I already know mine, that we're all equal.
Mm-hmm.
There's no,
Mm-hmm.
just one heart, and we all bleed the same, and people aren't, we talk about races and stuff like that. Like there's just equality everywhere.
Yeah. That's the most
dream that
selfless one anyone has picked so far. I'm like, I could control time and go back in time. And you're like, what if everyone was equal? Yeah.
That there was no, and I know people might not like that there's no distinction, but can you imagine how much peace that would bring?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's beautiful.
That was great.
Yeah. Anything that we didn't hit that we should hit? Anything you guys want to talk about?
I think the big thing, too, is like people see us how active we are, but don't realize like how active we are in our girls' lives as well.
Yeah.
That's the thing is like we're not, one thing I'm very proud of is that we're not passive parents.
Yeah.
We're active in their lives. Elaine, quite honestly, more so than I, honestly. But at the same time, it's a matter of shaping these three girls to be amazing, goal-oriented, hardworking, compassionate, empathetic women.
Yeah.
Is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing is like, people only see us. They don't necessarily see the family.
Right. Yeah.
And that sort is what is, extremely important as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
what are their ages?
26, 24, and 20.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they're kind of off in the world.
Yeah.
You have to do everything, you can to give them those skills.
Mm-hmm.
How was the journey? Do you guys feel like you did?
It's scary hard because we've trained them and educated them to be these strong, independent women that they can do anything they want.
Yeah.
I've got one that's an architect that lives in DC.
Wow.
And they get pissed off and they're not allowed to, but not by us but basically by other people.
Right. Yeah.
So the architect, and I have my middle daughter, Emily, Julie is the architect. Emily is in Pensacola, Florida right now with her Navy boyfriend. She's going to be moving to Corpus Christi, has a great, amazing, virtual job that she does in marketing. And Kate, my youngest, is at University of Delaware in marketing. And she works locally at BSI. So,
okay.
I think out of the three of them, I have a chance of keeping her in the Valley. I don't know. Should stay by mom. But I engage them so much to live the life that there's nothing they cannot do.
Yep.
I'm their biggest cheerleader. They know that. And they can always come to us for support. He's the best dad by choice, for them. And, just that I feel my dad coming through them, just saying there's nothing that you can't do. And
It's what's also interesting too, is like the girls have always said that they want to find a boyfriend or a mate that
opens doors for them.
Basically like treats them the way that I treated them.
Yeah.
That's like, wow, that's something that
says something, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it goes back to empowerment. I mean, that's the name of the game.
100%.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you guys. This was incredible. No, absolutely. I have learned a ton. You guys truly are amazing, and you do amazing things for the area. So thank you guys so much.
Thanks for having us. Awesome.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the YMI Talking podcast. If you enjoyed this and want to hear more content from amazing personalities in the Valley, please subscribe, leave a rating, and drop us a quick review.